Okay, let's do this. Let's go live. So I'll start with welcoming replay viewers because as yet no one's in here, but that's all good. So I was sitting down this morning and I was making a list of what we know as absolute facts in Kylie's case. And there's a few things that we do know as facts, and I'm going to go through them in this live. So, meanwhile, while I'm waiting to see if people come in, I will just mention again that memberships are available for people who are interested. And currently, I am offering membership prizes every 2 months. Like I said on previous videos, I can only do prizes once every couple of months at the moment because of the postage cost. Welcome to whoever has just come in. It's good to see you here. So I'm just biding time a little bit to just give people a chance to come in before I start talking about the facts that we know in Kylie's case. Hey, Mrs. G. So the way I'm hoping that this will work today is that I have made a list of what I see as being absolute facts in Kylie's case. Things that we know are a certainty for one reason or another. And I'm hoping you guys can help me to come up with more facts or to look at other things that we think are facts that maybe aren't facts. So today's about kind of drawing everything together and finding out what we know is a certainty. So welcome to everyone who's just come in. I'm so glad that you are here. I have dropped a link for Shan to come in, but I'm guessing she's probably out gardening and enjoying. Sorry, dogs are going to bark in a minute. I'll just pre-warn you. Yeah, I'm guessing Shan's too busy enjoying your summer over there. We've well and truly hit winter here. It's kind of chilly today. It's 13 degrees, which I don't know what that equates to in Fahrenheit, but it's cold. It's very cold. So I would love a bit of your summer right now. But I guess I got to sit back while you guys were all freezing your butts off, so it's your turn to all sit back and enjoy your summer while I freeze my butt off. Okay, so let's jump in. Oh, is there no sound? Can someone, like my little thing is moving, telling me that there is sound? Can you put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me? I've just been rabbiting on. Oh, cool. So you can hear me? Mrs. G, you might... Okay. Mrs. G, if you can't hear me, you might want to jump out and jump back in. And if you can't hear me, you probably can't hear me say that. Maybe I suck at trying to type in chat while I'm live, so maybe someone could tell Mrs. G to jump out and jump back in so that she can hear me. Yeah. I think anyone who can't hear me will probably need to go out and come back in. And like I said, if they can't hear me, they're not going to hear me say that. So welcome everyone else who's just come in. So let's just start looking at the things that we know as being absolute fact in Kylie's case. Because when I sat down and started making a list, there are actually more things than what I had realised. I thought that there was, we do have a lot of things that are speculation. We've got all these people that have inserted themselves. Yeah, Mrs. G, got to take it off pause, otherwise there is no sound. I've done that kind of thing before. It's all good. Yep. If you press the play button, you get sound. If you have it on pause, you just get a screen that does nothing, which could make for a very long and boring live stream. So I'm glad you've got that figured out. And I'm glad you're here because, well, I can see some people here who are going to be great for helping us out with figuring it out in terms of what are the facts that we know. So let's make a start. So I'm going to say straight up that I'm going to say that things that we've been told by law enforcement, I am considering as facts right now. Sometimes we question that. I know in terms of some of the things that Angela Muslim said in terms of fake news, I think was a bit of a cover-up attempt. But some of the things that they came out and said directly to media that weren't in response to things that other people have said, I think we will take for now as being facts. So, okay, and you will probably hear crazy background noises. I'll just pre-warn you. Looks like the cat has finished her nap time and it's now crazy time. IYP. Drift away. Oh, in your presence. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted by the cat and then turned around and, tried to reach out and got, lost. So I'm going to be accompanied by bells for a while by the sounds of it. So, yay for that. So, one thing that we have been told by law enforcement is that Kiely was definitely at the party. So, in this instance, we're taking this as a fact. They are saying that she was at the party. They are saying that they have videos and photos that place her at the party. Now, we can speculate on that, and I know a lot of people do, but to all intents and purposes, we've told that Kiely did attend a party. Now, in terms of that, we've been given Prosser as the location of the party, but I don't think, well, I guess if I'm saying that we're going with stuff that law enforcement have said, then they claimed that the party was at Prosser. So I guess we have to say that that is fact. But that doesn't mean that there weren't any after parties and that there weren't parties elsewhere. So I guess we could probably say that Kiely attended a party at Prosser. We don't know if that was the main party. We don't know if that is the location from where she disappeared. Because if you remember, when Lindsay talked about the party, she never once spoke about location in terms of, she never said the party at Prosser or anything. She basically said at the location of the party or something like that. So she only ever referred to it as as the party, the location of the party. So if anyone can remember hearing Lindsay refer to it as being a party at Prosser, let me know. But to the best of my memory, Lindsay never actually referred to the location of the party, the specific location. Now, I'm going to move on to the hoodies because there's a lot of weird stuff around those hoodies. So, two things that we were given as being facts by law enforcement when it comes to the hoodies. And we've not heard anything that would necessarily debunk it. Now, they did say that the black hoodie was borrowed by Kiely on the day before the party. Or was it the day of the party? So they're saying that they believe that she had the black hoodie in her possession when she went to the party. So that's all we know in terms of the black hoodie. We don't know if that was ever retrieved. We don't know if that was ever returned to the person who she borrowed it from. We can speculate that it belonged to Mags because Lindsay talked about her having borrowed it from a close friend. There was talk at one stage of how Kiely and Mags used to go to concerts together. So, and even Lindsay mentioned something about it when they were saying about the phrasing on the hoodie, and Lindsay was saying, well, don't read too much into it. It's just a hoodie from a concert. So we can't take it as fact that it belonged to Mags, but we can speculate. We can come close to considering it as fact based on the information that we have around it. But like I said, we don't know for a fact that she still had it in her possession at the party. All we know is that she borrowed it sometime prior to the party. When it comes to the white hoodie, we were told by law enforcement that she was wearing the white hoodie at the party, and that they have seen a video of her wearing the white hoodie at the party. So I'm going to take that as being fact, just going by what I said in terms of that we have this from law enforcement. I'm just going to say, Driftaway, thank you so much for adding the notes in there. That'll help me to go through it later and then hopefully put all this together into some kind of shorter type of video covering the facts. Yep, Sandra, that is a solid fact, and that's one that I forgot to mention. We don't know the exact numbers of people at the party, but it sounds like it was a big enough party that there were too many people there for someone to not see what happened to Kiely. So the fact is, in my opinion, hi Billy, welcome in. The fact is, in my opinion, and I think we can take it as fact, is that people do know what happened to Kiely. And people have chosen not to speak and not to come out. So, drift away, hundreds of party goers. So, if we're going with saying that what we were told by law enforcement is fact, then we know that there were hundreds of party goers. I think we will keep it at saying hundreds as opposed to trying to figure out actual amounts, because that kept changing. Even law enforcement didn't really give us a solid amount when it came to the number of partygoers. Welcome to the people who have come in just now. Good to see you here. There were. So we know as a fact that there were hundreds of partygoers. So definitely someone had to have seen something, and people were not chatting at all. So we know that she was, according to law enforcement, wearing that white hoodie at some point during the night. We know that there is a video of her wearing that white hoodie. And in terms of the white hoodie, as far as double confirmation of that, is that law enforcement said that Lindsay actually said that Kiely was wearing the white hoodie at the party. And I have a question about that, because how would Lindsay know that Kiely was wearing the white hoodie at the party when apparently she last saw her in the morning? But I'll leave that for another video, because, like I said, I'm trying to hone in on facts during this live and figure out what we know as being absolute, complete, utter factual information. Now, I'm going to go on to the timeline next. First of all, we know that the location was turned off on Kiely's phone at 12:03. So we know that as a fact. That is information that we were given both by law enforcement and by Lindsay. And we know that precisely half an hour later, at 12:33, the phone had its last ping. Now, we know these are factual bits of information, and we know that that last ping occurred somewhere in the vicinity of the Prosser party. So I guess that's an additional thing that we know. We know that it did last ping at 12:33, and that last ping was somewhere in the vicinity of the party. We have that odd statement by Sam Brown that it was, what was it, neither on land or water, or he didn't know if it was on land or water. That was kind of odd, but I think that's just saying that they couldn't give a precise, exact location, but they knew roughly where it was. Now, I will just do a segue from that and say that while we know that the last ping was in the location of the party, her vehicle was also found in the location of the last ping, as much on land as on water. Thank you, Guy. Yes. And that was a really odd comment to make, but I guess it makes sense when you think about the location. Yes, do please hit the like button if you've come in and not gotten that far yet, but yeah, hit the like button. Yeah, Andrew, they never clarified that as to whether it was LifeSit 360 or the location turned off for the whole phone. People made the presumption that she had Life 360 on her phone, but we never had that directly from Lindsay. All Lindsay said was that the location was turned off. So we don't know if it was Life 360 or location. Don't forget that, you can do Find My iPhone. So if Lindsay was trying to find Kiely's iPhone and went in that way and saw that location was turned off, that would have been one way. Mrs. G, if you have come across anything that says where Lindsay confirmed Life 360, if you can let me know, that'd be great. But to the best of my knowledge, I have no recollection of seeing it anywhere. And I know I was looking for it early on in the piece, because we have people coming out and saying that they calling it Life 360, but to the best of my knowledge, we never heard it from law enforcement or from Lindsay. Now, I'm going to keep going with the timeline. and that is the information that we had from those campers. And I believe this to be credible because it is first-hand eyewitness accounts. It's not hearsay. And that is that there was a string of cars that went in at 9:30 and a string of cars that went out at 12:30. Now, as far as whether they're exact times, like exactly on 12:30, we don't know. But they're saying that around 9:30 there was a string of cars in, around 12:30 there was a string of cars out. Okay, I'm just trying to read Billy's comment. Yeah, I don't think, Billy, that Sammy could have done all this on her own. So Driftaway is saying that they tested 360 for Apple Watch, and it was off by 100 yards, which could explain the confusion in terms of locating it. I guess it depends on tower locations. If you've got more towers that the phone can communicate with, then it's far easier to pinpoint an exact location. If you've got fewer towers, then you're going to be struggling to get a precise location. Yeah, Billy, where is Kylie's phone? Now, we had apparently SF claiming that FBI had Kylie's phone, but I'm just going to say here, I'm not going to take anything that SF said as being factual, because he is full of shit, basically. If anyone was following the Gabby Petito case way before Kylie's case, that's when he first popped up, and he got nailed by, I think it was a Nerdy Addict and several other people because of his bullshit. And then he popped his head up again in Kylie's case. And of course, we all know that anytime you question him on X, you get blocked. So I'm not going to look at anything that SF says as being factual. I do want to do a breakdown of one of his interviews at some point. Not the one where he's fake crying, because that one just does my head in. But definitely want to do one of his interviews, pull that apart. So if anyone can figure out a good one for me to look at and let me know, that would be great. Shan's here. Wow, I wasn't sure if you'd make it, Shan. I thought you'd be busy squirreling. Okay, I'm just reading everyone's comments right now, because there's some really good things in here. If Kylie's phone was missing, it would not be believed that Kiely did it to herself. And maybe that is why they're keeping it so quiet and not letting us know anything about Kylie's phone, because if they haven't found Kylie's phone, or they didn't find Kylie's phone with her, that is a dead giveaway. So in terms of Kylie's phone, we can't actually land on solid facts as to whether or not the phone was ever found. We've certainly seen some images, interesting images, that look like a phone in the sand. But yeah, as far as facts with the phone, all we know is that the last ping was somewhere in the vicinity of where they found her car, but that doesn't say that that the ping came from the car or from Kiely. I shared our experiment because I'm wondering if it wasn't a ping from Towers, but actually from Lindsay Find Phone app. I think at one point it was said that that final ping had something to do with Snapchat. So I think in terms of the Find My Phone, I think we know that 1203 was the last location that we were given for the phone in terms of after that location services were turned off. But after that, I really don't know. And it's a good question. Now, so we had the talk of cars in at 9:30, cars out at 12:30. And I think from that, I think we need to keep in mind that the 12:30 lines up with the last ping from Kylie's phone. But that said, at the same time, we know that iPhones can last, or the newer iPhones like Kylie's, can last for half an hour or more underwater. I don't know if that's necessarily something as a solid fact that just kind of ties it all in. Now, I'm going to move on to Boca. We can't say as fact that the tow truck guy or the roadside guy did actually see Kiely or her vehicle. I'm going to say that I'm going to take it as fact that he did see a vehicle and that he did attend a roadside call out with two individuals who were acting strangely. And I'm going to say that I am taking that as fact because from having gone through his interview with Adventures with Purpose, I can't... Oh, Mike Jack slipped out. Did my mic slip out, or is there a problem with my sound, or are we all good? Yeah, we haven't had roadside confirmed by law enforcement, so we can only confirm that roadside Nick attended a vehicle. We don't know if it was Kylie's vehicle. We know that he attended a vehicle at Boca the day after Kiely went missing. And we know that at that vehicle, there were two individuals, a male and a female, who apparently sound similar to Kiely, and a male who possibly sounds similar to Jagger. Welcome in, Mrs. Pookie's Grammy. But we have no... So, yeah, for fact 10, roadside Nick did attend a vehicle. But we don't know it was Kylie's vehicle. So we're not going to say that he attended Kylie's vehicle as solid fact, because unless we can see the actual video of that, then there is no confirmation of that whatsoever. What we can take as fact, and this is our 11th fact, is that there were many locals who did believe that they saw Kiely or her vehicle at Boca Reservoir the following day. So I think we can take that as fact, because we know that it's not just one person saying that they saw either Kiely or her vehicle. We are saying we know that there were multiple people who had sightings of Kiely and or her vehicle at Boca, or they believe. So I guess in terms of facts, we would have to say that these people multiple people believe they saw Kiely at Boca or her vehicle. And these are people who were locals, and this includes someone who knew Kiely personally. Kenny's here. Oh, Kenny, it's so great to see you. I hope you are doing well. It's been a long time. Wow. So glad to see you here, Kenny. Yay, let's all give some hearts for Kenny because I know I've missed him. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next thing that we know as being factual. And that is that there were multiple sightings of a vehicle which matched Kiely's right up until the 17th of August. Now, I don't know if that is Kiely's vehicle that people saw. All we know is that there is a record of multiple sightings of a vehicle matching Kiely's right up until the 17th of August. Could mean something, or it could mean absolutely nothing. But it's definitely something that we need to take as fact and we need to keep in mind. Okay, Billy, they need to keep their mouth shut or they're blackmailed. As in, are we still talking about the people who may have seen Kiely at Boca? Because people went silent about that pretty quickly afterwards. And I gather that there was a bit of pressure put on people in terms of not talking about stuff like that. Now, who was at the party? I racked my brain, and the only confirmation that we have in terms of people who were definitely at the party is Kiely, according to law enforcement, and Sammy, according to Sammy. So, crazy, but it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the only solid confirmation that we have, the only fact that we know is that Sammy was at the party and Kiely was at the party. Nothing else we can take as being solid fact. I know there's the whole story about Evan's car being parked next to Kylie's, yada, yada, yada. But where does that fact come from? Well, where does that come from? That comes from Megan Cole. So we've not heard that from Evan himself. We've not heard that from anyone else themselves. It's hearsay information, so it is not a fact. So we can't take it as fact that Evan's car was parked next to Kylie's or that he was there at the party. So as far as I can tell, the only fact we have in terms of who was at the party is Sammy was at the party, Kiely was at the party. That is all we have as solid fact. Now, this is a bit of a segue, but it's still factual and it's still something that I think we need to keep in mind when we're looking at everything to do with Kiely's case. And that is just a few solid facts around the people who inserted themselves into the case. So I'm going to start with Megan Cole. And I know it'll make me unpopular for talking about her, and she'll probably send her winged monkeys after me yet again. But I'm a big girl and I can cope with that. So the facts that we do know about Megan Cole, the things that we need to keep in mind when we look at any information that she has brought to the table. First fact is that she did have close ties with Sammy Smith. So that is an important fact. We know that it is correct. We've seen photos of Daisy and Sammy together. We've seen a video of Daisy and Sammy together. Drift away. If you can find out where Sammy said that, that would be great, because I've not come across that. So Sammy saying that Evan parked to block Kylie's car in case it rolled. That's really, really interesting. And yeah, if anyone can find that and let me know where that bit of information is, that'd be great. So yeah, Mrs. G, she wanted close ties with Sammy, but I think we can be pretty certain that there's a lot that Sammy wouldn't have told her. And I think, as far as the close ties, we know the close ties are between Daisy and Sammy. So I'm not even going to say it as being fact that she came out to support Sammy and that was the reason that she came out, because we've heard so many different things that contradict that. So as far as Megan, the first fact that we can take is as a solid fact. Kenny, I wish I could read your comment out on the live. It is brilliant. Kenny, that is probably also a solid fact. But yeah, we have to be careful that we're not taking hearsay as fact. So in terms of Evan, the only thing I've ever heard about Evan has come from Megan. So I'm not taking that as fact. I'm taking it as hearsay. But facts, okay, Megan has ties with Sammy. So we need to keep that in mind as to her motivations, whether her motivation is because her daughter was with Sammy at the party, and that is not something that we know as a fact. That is something that we speculate. But definitely the close ties with Sammy. Another fact that we need to keep in mind about Megan Cole when we're looking at information that she shares is that she does love to be the centre of attention. And that is a solid fact, and I think that is pertinent because it just, when you're someone who likes to be the centre of attention, then you are going to see whatever stories you can come up with. So that can colour the information the person gives. And as part of that, we also know as a solid fact that she is pretty much a town gossip. She went around asking as many people information and sharing as much information as she possibly could. Now, I have made notes on other people, but I'll come back to them because I'm just working through. My notes are kind of in a random order. I tried to originally start off putting my notes in a decent sequential order and then got lost. So, a few facts in relation to Kylie's car. First of all, one fact that we do know is that in the Adventures with Purpose video, that sticker was on the back of Kylie's car. So we know that as a fact that Kylie's car, when it went in the water, did have that sticker on the back of it. We also know as a fact, because we saw the photos, that for some reason, after the car was retrieved, And during the forensic process, that sticker was removed. So that is another fact. We've seen it for ourselves. Sorry, Shan. We are now calling Shan Charlie Burkholderman. It's got a nice ring to it, Shan. It's got a really nice ring to it. So the sticker was definitely gone after recovery. We've seen photos. Now, the other thing that was removed during the forensic process, or presumably during the forensic process, because it was there when we saw the car underwater, but that whole rear skin that was under the wiper blade was removed. If you know what I mean, you know the outside panel on the car. So on the rear of the car, the photo that we saw of the car later on, we saw that outside skin was removed. So that is a fact, and we don't know why, but that is really interesting and something that we need to keep in mind. Definitely something I'd like to look at a later date and try and speculate as to why that outside skin on the rear panel was removed. Andrew, if you're in here, can you tell me what that's actually called, so I'm not sounding like a complete twat calling it as skin? But that's what I would think of it as, because it's not the full panel. They didn't remove the entire panel. Now let's talk windows. That panel was glass, part of the tailgate. The wiper goes through a pre-cut hole. So that was like a glass bit that goes over the tailgate, Kenny? I get what you mean. Like, yeah, I'll have to have another look at that picture. I know exactly what you mean now. Thank you, Kenny. Let's talk windows. Now, we know for a fact that when the car was underwater, that there was one window fully open or broken. No, not a visor. It was just the covering on the back of the car. Okay, so factual. We know that there was one window fully open or broken, and Kenny, it looks like part of the sticker, the backing, had maybe stuck to the glass when they peeled it off. That's a good point. I think the bumper was still intact in the photos that we saw. I think it was just that flat panel that goes across the back, like the glass or the perspex or whatever it was. I can't see someone driving their car with their windows down at 12:30 at night if supposedly she went in at that point in time. So, window facts. We know there were 2 windows down when the vehicle was underwater. The rear one was halfway down because that's as far as it would go. The one in the front on the diagonal opposite side, which I think was on the passenger side, was fully open. Whether it was broken or opened, I'm not going to go into that completely, but they are 2 things that we know as a fact. Now, an important fact with regards to that front window, this is one of those if facts. Yes, I'm just going to jump in on that, Kenny, now, because we know that would not have happened while flipping the car. So, important fact here, the front bumper was quite damaged. The fog light holder was missing and the number plate bracket was bent. They are all things that could not have happened when the car was flipped, meaning that they had to have happened prior to the car going in the water. Okay, just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to... I've starred that comment. I don't know if that... Hopefully that means it'll show up for me later on. Okay, now... Where was I with the glass? There was an important fact that I had. Important thing to bear in mind. If the front window was broken out as opposed to rolled down, then that would have happened prior to the vehicle going in the water. The vehicle would not have the glass would not have broken as a result of it landing on the bottom of the reservoir. Yeah, Kenny, I agree totally. Kenny, do I get to see some more Kenny videos soon? Love to see some more of your work. You do some amazing stuff, and I'd love to hear a video where you break down all the things you discovered with Kiely's car. I know it's possible that you've done that and I've missed it, because it seems that quite often we all vanish into the algorithm. Seems like the moment you start talking about Kiely, that suddenly you're invisible. Now, another fact, which we know, because people keep talking about cars being swapped over and everything. The one fact that we know is that the plates on the vehicle that was retrieved match the plates on Kiely's vehicle. So, definite fact, the appearance of the vehicle matches Kiely's vehicle, and the plates match the plates that were reported on Kiely's vehicle. Okay, still looking at the vehicle. It is a fact that there was something sticking out of the boot. Cool. I'm glad you're working on it, Kenny. I can't wait to see it. It is a fact that there was something sticking out of the boot. Billy, I'm not sure if we ever had any solid confirmation that the VIN matched. If anyone, Shan, if you're still in here, maybe you might know that. I know it was discussed. People said that the VIN matched, but I'm not sure where we had that information from. So I'm not going to add that to our list of facts just yet, unless we have some way of knowing that that is solid fact. But definitely it is a fact that there was something sticking out of the boot, something that looked like a strap of some sort. Whether it was a strap or a seatbelt, we have to speculate on. The question, Shan, the VIN number on the car, did we ever have solid confirmation of that? Because I'm not sure. I know it was talked about and people mentioned that the VIN number matched, but I don't recall hearing it firsthand from anywhere. So I'm not putting that out as fact just now. Okay, another fact that we have is that there was a body in the car. Yep. So the VIN we were given matches a silver Honda CR-V, but there's no confirmation from law enforcement that it matched the car that they pulled out. I thought that was the case, so we can't confirm the VIN number. Yeah, Mrs. G, it appears to be the cargo belt, but we can't take that as fact, so we have to speculate on it. The only fact that we have is that there was definitely some kind of strap sticking out. That's all we can go with. So we know that there were remains in the vehicle when it was found and when it was retrieved. We can't go factual that that was Kiely, and I hate saying that. I believe that it was. But as a fact, we can't say that for a fact. I know people tried to unblur the image from Adventures with Purpose, and I know we had, I think, Carson saying that he believed that she could be identified from their footage. But at the same time, he hasn't qualified that. So I'm going to just stick with the fact that there were remains found in the car. Yeah, Kenny, those dents and prangs did not get there by themselves. And don't forget that the description that Lindsay gave early in the piece was that there were possibly a few scratches on the car. There was no talk of dents or any solid damage. Now, let's go on to the autopsy. There's some solid facts there, and Mrs. G, I'm going to need you to help me here because there are a lot of facts, and I want to try and get as many of these facts recorded as I can. The first fact is that the identification was done as a visual identification, which is not the acceptable way of identifying a body. So visual identification was claimed. So I think that's one of our facts. Let's talk about height. The height given in the autopsy does not match Kiely's height. The weight given in the autopsy does not match Kiely's weight. That's two things already that are solid facts. We also know that, as a fact, there was no water in the lungs. That is a solid fact. If you look at videos that I've done, the jewellery that was reported in the autopsy, the necklaces, do not match the necklaces that we were told to look for when it comes to Kiely. They were completely different. Mrs. G has a good point. They did. Now, Mrs. G, yes and no. So they did, in the autopsy, list the plate in her arm as part of the identification. But they didn't actually say anything in the autopsy about matching serial numbers with that. Yeah. Yeah, Megan Cole said a lot of weird stuff when it came to Kiely. and I think the talking about the car sinking in 30 seconds, at one point in time, Jared Lysick basically said that, which I think I actually left that out of the panel that I did with Zavgirl, because we know that that's not the case. Yes, perhaps once the water started going in through the windows, it would sink within 30 seconds. But prior to that, it would still float for a bit. Yeah, Kenny, why did they ask the public to look out for her necklaces? That was so very, very, very odd. Doesn't make sense. In terms of the autopsy, another fact is that the lung weight was odd. It wasn't consistent with drowning. So definitely the lung weight was not consistent with drowning at all. Yeah, Ken, it is like the body was desiccated. It's like it was totally dried out. None of it makes sense. There was another important thing that I was going to put with the autopsy. That's a good question, Mrs. G. It should be. I think anything from the body should have been adequate for DNA. According to Ara, and I've got to have another look at the autopsy myself, but Ara said there was apparently a DNA panel was done. I have to check on that. Okay, fact is that they did not do any dental comparisons. We take that as fact because it is not reported in the autopsy, and multiple professionals have said if it's not there, it wasn't done. They should have had dental records because she had braces. So they never did a dental comparison. Mrs. G, I've left out something really important from the autopsy. Help, please. There's something, and I cannot remember at all. Okay, well, I'm going to move on from the autopsy for now. Yes, they used whiteout on the autopsy, which is not on. That makes the autopsy null and void. Yeah, exactly, Shan. The braces were removed earlier that year, so they should have had dental records. Thank you. Yes, the blood alcohol level says that she was not drunk. She was not intoxicated by any drugs. She had amounts of THC, but she was not intoxicated in any way whatsoever. The other important fact is that there is nothing in the autopsy that would come into that whole constellation of things that you would need to confirm a drowning. So the fact is the autopsy does not support drowning. Mrs. G, that is also a really, really important fact. And I'm going to now, I know how to do that. I'm starring that. There was maroon colouring of the deep tissue on the right side of the scalp. and that does not match lividity. So definitely the maroon colouring in the scalp, I think that is something that is an important fact to keep in mind. They're saying that there were no sign of injuries, but then we have things like that. Yes, Mrs. G, in terms of the ethanol levels match the expected levels for decomposition. In other words, you can't say she was drunk because the amount of ethanol is equal to what would be expected for that amount of decomposition. I'm not sure if I've missed anything else super important with the autopsy, but we can always come back to that. Now, this is another minefield, and hopefully I don't get strange people coming after me again. Like, it seems like when you talk about Zanime, suddenly your channel becomes targeted. But there's a few facts that we need to look at in terms of Zanime. Okay, we know that she worked for NASA or something like that, but I'm going to forget about all that stuff. The facts that I want to look at is when she was out there in her kayak. Hi, Brandy, glad you could make it. So, 3 things that stood out to me that are facts in terms of Zanime. 1, her pointing to an area and saying, there she is. That is a fact. Zanime identified a location and said, there she is. What the heck was that about? That's a really, really odd thing, and that is, we know that as a fact. Okay, the other fact that we have is that from what we can see in her video, she kayaked directly over the location where Kiely's vehicle was found. That's another fact. We can see that looking at her video. She kayaked directly over where Kiely's vehicle was. That's a really interesting fact. Something worthy of discussion at a later date. And another huge fact, which looks bad for her, is the arrow in the sand. There was a definite arrow drawn in the sand when she put her kayak back in the water. Now, it's possible that maybe when she came out of the water, she drew the arrow to point in the precise direction that she had just come so that she could make sure she got back to where her car was. But at the same time, if you're going to go kayaking and you're actually looking for someone, wouldn't you just sort of head across to the opposite shore anyway and kayak along till you could see your car? Why would it be important to put an arrow? So I am going to put that arrow as being something of significance and something that is a fact that we need to keep in mind. Wow, my list is like really, really long. I've still got heaps to go. We've got William Van Valkenburg in here. Which bit of bullshit don't you buy? Help us out here. Okay, I'm just want to go back through and read some comments. There's some good comments in here. There she is. Matches the area of whatever happens on Firecam at 1:47 a.m. And it's also the place that FBI first goes to investigate. Thanks, Shan. That's really important information. Kenny, that's a good question about who Zaname is in a relationship with. Got another. Hi, Simply Smile. Good to see you in here. That's a good question, Kenny. I don't know if did they completely identify the location of where the dog was buried? Because I'm not sure if they did. Now, I'm going to go kind of sideways again, I guess. I know we're over an hour, and I prefer to keep my live streams short. I'm just trying to decide whether maybe I should break this into 2 lives and do another live stream tomorrow. Okay. What I'm going to ask people is, would you like me to continue on with this live stream for a bit longer? Or would you like me to break this up and do a second live stream tomorrow? So 1, if you want to keep going now, or 2, if you want to come back tomorrow for another live stream. I could go either way, I guess. But in terms of, I know for replay viewers, sometimes it's easier when the live streams aren't super, super long. So I've got a 1, I've got a 1 or a 2 and a 1. I actually think that I might leave it here so that I can go back through what we've got already. And I want to go back through the autopsy, just scan through the autopsy. Yeah, overload, Mrs. G. We've actually covered a lot of ground in this live stream. And I think it might be, yeah, and I think I need to chill too. I think it might be beneficial to come back and do this tomorrow. So I will reschedule. I'll schedule for a second live stream for the same time tomorrow. And then that way I can scan through the autopsy and see if there's anything else important that I missed. And that gives us time to process what we've discussed. And that way people might have other things to bring in to the chat tomorrow in terms of facts that we haven't covered today. So, yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in. If you haven't clicked the like button on your way in, please do. And I'll catch you again tomorrow. See you later.